Brands Hatch was a melee last week, but thankfully, we returned to a much larger track. Needing the space to stretch their legs, these cars thrive on longer circuits. However, they were also made at a time where most tracks were not billiard table smooth. Will Sebring be a good fit because of that, or will it catch most drivers out? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth today is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sebring's evolution into a full-on racetrack is an interesting one. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Sebring International Raceway. Home to the 12 Hours of Sebring, one of the most grueling tests in endurance racing, this is a track which has earned a fearsome reputation among drivers. The circuit itself is located on the southeastern edge of the city of Sebring, Florida, and was built out of Hendricks Army Airfield shortly after World War II. 3 layouts are currently in use, ranging from 1.7 to 3.7 miles in length. The longest course, which is perhaps most well known with it being used for the famed endurance race, shockingly still contains portions of the original airfield surface. It's this aspect which has become a signature feature of the track, making it extremely bumpy for racing. Sunset Bend in particular nearly shakes cars apart while they attempt to navigate the high-speed 180-degree corner. As you'd expect for the side of an airfield, there's nearly no elevation change over the course of a lap, but many of the curves are dramatically tall and unforgiving, daring drivers to glance them yet not hit them directly. Thankfully, places to pass are plentiful, including spots like the Hairpin and Cunningham. However, the many fast, sweeping turns creates a dilemma for car setup, since a vehicle that's made too stiff could wind up bottoming out on the onerous bumps. In the end, if you have the wherewithal to withstand the track's rough nature, you're likely to fare well. And since Florida fans almost always show up in huge numbers to witness this test of car and driver, you'll have plenty to impress at this legendary North American road course. Well, Sebring is going to be a challenge of a different type compared to last time, Adam, but I'm looking forward to this race.
Yeah, one of Kamel's great coliseums, Sebring International Race, is challenging. It's a challenging 17-turn, 3.7-mile circuit that's 5.95 kilometers as well, and it boasts some of the roughest racing surfaces on. The Audis, believe it or not, will feel the most at home here, with many low and medium speed, tight radius turns, turning into short spurts of straights that make the German boxcar a blast to drive. But their only real struggles being Sunset and Turn 1. The Nissans, on the other hand, well, let's just say we're glad it's virtual racing. Ask any of the WC LMP drivers what it's like to drive a tightly sprung high downforce machine across the rough concrete slabs and changing track surfaces of Sebring. I'll tell you, it's none too pleasant experience. Add to that rough braking zones, hairpins, and short straights, and you have a recipe for a very tired right foot. Multiclass here is actually probably just as challenging here as Brands Hatch was last week, with good places to pass being the front stretch, Big Bend, and Ullman. But otherwise, the undulating track makes judging closing distances a real challenge, and the many changes of direction making trying to pass through the twistier bits dangerous at best. This place is always a bull ring, but compared to last week, I'm sure it'll seem, at least to the drivers, quite tame, Joe.
No doubt about that. And if we take a look at our race details for today's event, it's back to our 40-minute races like we usually do around here. Open setups as always, so the drivers will probably want to make them nice and compliant, and they have no spare car. So this place does kind of eat up cars from time to time. Might be having to watch out for a lot of visitors to pit lane, even if we don't have a scheduled pit stop drive-through. Penalty at 17 incidents. There's a few spots where you can dip the tires off a little too much, so watch out for that. And then if they get a little too greedy, they'll actually be disqualified at 25 incidents as well for this one. So back to kind of normalcy for this event. And as we head off to our points for this round, we've got Xavier Sanchez currently on the top spot. He's overtaken Aitor Sintez Galindo by 8 points after his win last week. So that definitely helped him out. Just Mudrack, again, continuing to be very, very consistent, but he's quite a distance behind those two. It's about 29 points behind the leader, 21 behind Aitor Sintez Galindo. From there, it's kind of everybody else fighting amongst each other, which is a bit shocking considering some of the faster drivers that we usually see doing much better. Ove Trangrate having a miserable season. He's down in 9th. Laust Olsen only in 5th after he's been so close to fighting for championships in seasons past. Also, we have a GTO championship. How does that sit over there?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. Javier Del Olmo currently leads the championship, jumping up 3 places over last week. Jamie Hamill-Smith only 8 points behind, so Jamie Hamill's consistency also helping him out. But you know whose lack of consistency is hurting him is Yuko Leskola. Yuko Leskola dropped from 1st down to 3rd. He is 11 points behind the leader and 3 points behind Jamie Hamill-Smith. He has some work to do. Ian Haycox, on the other hand, has been climbing the ranks along with Robert Plumley. They're both in 4th and 5th. And separated by only 1 point, and they're only 4 points behind Yuko Leskola. Let me get back to the drivers who are having a little bit more inconsistency. Hideki Koivisto, Reed Miller, who I don't believe was there last race. We have Emerson Gaudin in 8th, Andreas Schuster in 9th, and 10th is Gregorio Buscemi, who also missed last week.
Watching on board with Hideki Koivisto. I think he's starting his first flyer here. A lot of drivers still yet to set a time. In fact, everybody's still yet to set a time at this track today. So it takes quite a bit to try and circulate around this place, and you definitely had to have gotten out pretty much immediately, especially if you are in the Audis. We're watching Xavier Sanchez, who came away after a fantastic fight over at Imola in the Lotus 49s to get himself a top 5. We'll see if he can do better here today and get himself another victory.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got some work to do for sure, and 2/3 of the field are Nissans today, it looks like, so it's going to be a pretty tense race for the Nissans to try and cut through a fairly sizable Audi field, considering we have 50 cars out on the track today, Joe. This is going to be one packed circuit, especially to start this race.
As it looks like Sanchez is across, and he takes the provisional pole, waiting on Sintez Galindo, who's going to be one of the next ones through in the number 4 car. Let's see what he's got underneath him as he crosses the line. It's a 43.8. He is 6/100ths faster than Sanchez, so the rivalry continues today.
Absolutely, so it's going to be cool to see those two duke it out in their second laps. Here comes Yuko Leskola crossing the line, the first of the Audis to do so. Ian Haycox, actually the first to do so, jumps up to 3rd right now, with Yuko Leskola taking pole by about 4/10 over Javier Del Olmo. This is part and parcel for what we see every week, Joe, but Yuko just has a trouble keeping it clean during the races this season.
Yeah, certainly has not had the luck this time out. Ian Haycox down in 5th. Wonder if that second lap will help him out at this place, because he tends to be pretty fast. And Reed Miller, let's not discount him. He sits in 3rd. Robert Plumley, 2nd row out there for the Audis as well. There he is on screen now. Didn't have a great run at Imola back in the Lotus 49s earlier this morning. We'll see whether or not he can do a little better in a fendered car here today. And looks like Xavier Sanchez did not complete his second lap, so he's not able to take pole over Sintez Galindo, and the highest he will be is 2nd place. Right now, top 3 split by 0.124 of a second. Francisco Araneta could disrupt things if he gets a faster second lap. As we continue to watch from on board, Robert Plumley looking over his shoulder. I can report that Sintez Galindo is about to finish his second lap, and it does look like he is going to put a huge gap between himself and his rivals.
Yeah, Francisco Arenado unfortunately spun going onto the back straight, so unfortunately he's not going to be able to upset this as Aitor Sintez Galindo crosses the line and improves by 5/10, so 0.6 over Javier Sanchez, who unfortunately, like you said, did not finish his second lap. Francisco's going to be off as well.
And speaking of an off, I think Farron Grau went a little wide there coming through Le Mans. Not sure if this one's going to count. Teammates to Aitor, he wants to be a little bit closer because he's been his wingman in the past, helping him take some victories by playing defense. Sounds like Leskola had an incident, and yeah, Farron Grau abandoned his final lap, and Leskola is slower by 0.3, unusual for the Audis.
And Javier unfortunately did not improve on his second lap either, so Standings going to stay where they are. Reed Miller, though, jumped up to 4th position on his second lap, pumping Robert Plumley and Andreas Schuster down to 5th and 6th. So as the Audis finish their second laps right now, Robert Plumley putting in a good time himself. We've got Mika Tupla down in 10th trying to improve. Mika crosses the line. What's it going to be?
Buafia, we've missed that he's here, and he is up to the pole by more than half a second over Yuko Leskala, and that was his first lap, and he abandons his second immediately.
I mean, why go on to your second? Everyone else has already taken theirs.
Wow, as soon as I realized he was here, I put my eyes on him, and sure enough, he's been one of the few that can challenge the Finn at most tracks in that Audi. It looks like with 30 seconds left, I think we might be done with qualifying. I see Martin Riesman might be able to get one across in the 33. That's in the Nissans.
Javier Mascara might as well be able to finish. He's on his second lap as well.
I think that might be it. There's those two. So Martin, who definitely needs a time because his first one got deleted, has his second one deleted, unfortunately. Mascara's in 12th, and he'll stay in 12th as he also was not able to count that lap. Let's go through our starting order here for today as Aitor Sintes Galindo is on the pole for the GTP. Xavier Sanchez will start from second. Francisco Araneta, not sure what else he's got underneath him since we didn't get to see that second lap, but he'll start from third. Thomas Torp, great qualifying in P4. Fabian Jungluth also has been stepping up his game. He'll start from P5, and Farron Grau will be 6th. Seamus Power, P7 for him. Ernesto Melendez III will be 8th. After that, it's Jack Wells starting 9th, and Gianluca Gabbiani rounding out our first slide there in 10th. Andrew Medell will be in 11th. It'll be Javier Mascara, as we mentioned, 12th after his second lap did not count. Daniel Schulte, 13th, and then Pedro Barbosa, P14. Lars Machina will start from 15th. Jaden Hopp next to him. Amber Dauenbaugh starting P17. Laus Olsen struggling here today, apparently. First lap didn't count. Second one wasn't very fast. He'll start from 18th. Diego Mastretta will be P19. Jacob Leon starts 20th. Then it's Tobias Rohner, who is 21st. Brendan Lim will be P22. Last couple to set times are Michael Spohn in 23rd, Jean Orendain in 24th, and Victor Felix in 25th. Martin Riesman, Christian Arribas, and Roy Pruitt will start from the back of the GTP field.
Then we've got Caradine Boafia, who takes the pole away from Yuko Leskala to the tune of 0.4 of a second. Quite a qualifying time for him. Yuko Leskala is going to start off in that second position next to him. Javier Del Olmo, current championships point leader, going to start off in third position with Ian Haycox, who's been good in qualifying, just not had the races to back it up, unfortunately, starting off in the fourth position. Reed Miller is back to start off in fifth. Mr. Consistency himself, pretty much always in fifth ever since I started broadcasting this series. And we got Robert Plumley starting off in the sixth position with Andreas Schuster back there in seventh position. Andre Schumacher, those two aren't hard to keep apart, in eighth position with Hideki Koivisto starting off in ninth. Not the greatest qualifying for him. Then we got Jakub Kucek, who's going to start off in the 10th position. Then Jamie Hamill-Smith in 11th with Mika Tupela lined up next to him in 12th. Jesus Amundere is going to start off in 13th position with Herbert Prince in 14th. Doug Cloud back there in 15th. Not a great start for him either. Javier Delgado is going to start off in 16th with Dylan Luna in 17th. Brian Williams down in 18th. Probably not the MSNBC anchor. Then we got Michael Haynes in the 19th position, our last of our qualifiers to set a time. Then we have Antonio Alvarez, who's going to start off in the 20th position with Carlos Fonseca 21st and Alejandro Silva Caride in the 22nd position, rounding out your 22 Audis and your 50 cars out for the race today.
Plenty of them. And, the sunshine of Florida is probably great for the fans that are enjoying the 75-degree temperatures, but for the drivers, with it being the middle of the day and no clouds in sight, that has boosted the heat on the surface up to 115 Fahrenheit, 46 Celsius for those of you in the metric system. And I don't quite believe this, though, because it says 33% humidity in Florida. Yeah, I think someone needs to talk to iRacing about that one, because it's in the middle of July right now.
It'd be like 90.
Yeah. Yeah, we have more.
Oh, we've had a wreck.
Oh.
I think. No, I'm seeing. This is very odd. Sorry, my bad. I had a very weird timing screen hiccup, but here's someone who's starting around the pits. That is Pedro Barbosa.
I mean, we were talking about this before we came live, Adam, that turn one might be a little frenetic out there. So I wonder if that's his thought process.
Oh, I mean, if I were, we haven't seen Pedro around that much. If I was in Pedro's shoes, I would also start from the pits, especially with the field this large, with the series this competitive. I'd be like, you know what, I'm going to let these guys get away. But the only problem with that philosophy as a GTP is that puts you entering the track in the middle of the GTO's first turn. So there's a danger, there's a risk involved in that as well. So it's not a clear-cut decision for the faster class to start from the pits.
Yeah, we'll have to watch and see. Let's really hope that we don't get them causing problems in the GTOs right at the start of this race. As we watch from the gearbox of our leader here, this is going to be an interesting one. This is actually from our pace car even that they're watching from. That is Sintez Galindo there. You see in the 4 and Sanchez in the red, white, and black that you see next to them. So as we come out of one of the more critical turns on this track here through Le Mans, everybody's going to be prepping now. And these Nissans will be released after sunset. And we'll get to the start of the GTOs after that. But I'm sure after some of them licking their wounds from last week, that we hope to see a little bit more caution this time.
Definitely hoping to see some more caution for sure. Hoping to see a little bit more of a measured start to this race, because this is 40 minutes may not seem that long for a race at Sebring, but it's going to feel pretty decent here. So we're about to come around sunset and take the green.
Porsche pace car is going to unleash them, and we'll be on our way for 40 minutes. Let's see if Aitor can return to the top step of the podium, or is Sanchez going to make it 2 for 2 in the last 2 races. Pace car is in, and he's holding them. There he goes. Sintez Galindo is off like a shot. Sanchez gets left behind, but he goes defensive immediately. Araneda is trying to see if he can challenge around the outside, coming up into turn 1, and he's deep on the brakes. He might have a better shot at this. No, he starts to fall back around the outside of that corner, down into turn 3. And I'm not seeing huge incidents yet. I think we're clean through. Let's go to the GTOs.
Kieran Brafia led the field to the start of the green in sunset. That gave Yuko Lesko a good opportunity. He's going around in front of the field. He's holding on to it. Somehow he saved that machine. Both Javier Del Ovo and Ian Haycox parted the waters for him and allowed him to recover. Yuko Lesko in the lead over Javier Del Ovo and Ian Haycox.
And he didn't lose much time critically. He's still in 4th place. He's got a bit of ground to make up, but it is minor compared to what could have been him at the very back of the field.
He could have wrecked out the field.
Absolutely. So, quick hands and some quick brains has saved this one. And Boafia now runs in 4th on track as we ride on board with him. Can he make up that lost time is the question. As we jump ahead of him, and the drivers still coming into Cunningham corner. This is actually still on board with Boafia. That's Haycox just in front of him, up to 3rd at the start of this race for the number 12.
Yeah, good start from Haycox and Del Omo, who both saw that Caradine was going around and went opposite directions. They would have gone the same way. They would have run into each other, but both of them were covering well, and Caradine now is the car underneath him. He's going to be trying to hunt down Ian Haycox.
Ooh, Araneda is trying to make quick work of Grau here. No, the reverse. Grau's making quick work of Araneda. He just got through in Sunset Bend. So Farron Grau, who wants to get up to his teammate and try to help him out, has already disposed of one rival. Now he's got to try to catch up to Sanchez.
Yeah, good start from these front runners in the GTPs. A clean start for most of the GTP field as well. A little bit of contact through the first couple of corners further back in the field, but nobody with major damage. Now we're going to start to see their pace, and they're going to want to get passes done and moves done as early as possible around here, because it's going to be very dangerous for them to do so later on in this race. We've had a little bit of contact. Hideki Koivisto missed sunset and actually hit the outside wall. He's trying to recover right now, as Pedro Barbosa is already trying to cut through the field in the GTOs, and more side-by-side contact between Andreas Schumacher and Jamie Hamill-Smith in the GTOs, battling for 10th position.
Oof, that's not good for Hamill-Smith, who's second in the points right now, and he's already down in 10th. So we continue to watch our GTPs. This is coming into Cunningham right now through Collier. As things switch back and forth, the track gets actually quite narrow through this portion. And Sanchez still trying to keep ahead of Grau, but it does look like Farron is gaining slightly. It's down to half a second between them.
Yeah, Farron Grau is definitely starting to gain on Sanchez. Sanchez Galindo's starting to run away a little bit as we take a look at Farron Grau. It looks like Jungbluth's had a problem.
Yeah, I just noticed the same thing. He suddenly got passed by a number of cars. Ooh, he did a magnificent catch. And was that Gabbiani that also had to catch up? Yeah, so he caught the car coming out of Le Mans, and that's causing a bit of a checkup in front of him as cars scatter to take position. Wells is going to be able to go by Ernesto Melendez. Looks like Jungbluth also going to be able to capture that spot. Mid-pack in the prototypes is kicking off.
It's a very slick and bumpy track today, Joe. That temperature is really starting to increase for them. That means that the air is, because of the low humidity, the air is actually thinner for them, which means they don't get as much power, but it does mean that it increases the aerodynamic effects. So as you can see, the track temperature has gone up by 1 degree ever since we started this race. So tough racing for everyone right now. But Yuko Leskala and Javier Del Olmo. Javier Del Olmo's made the pass on Yuko for the lead of the GTOs right now.
That happened, yeah, just now. He got a good exit coming out of Le Mans, and he is in front. Now they're trying to deal with Barbosa, who's staying patient behind him as we watch the mid-pack still on our screen. There we have our leaders. Driver going through. Is this going to actually hinder Del Olmo? No, he's able to get to the apex.
Yeah, there we see Yuko Leskala falling behind Del Olmo. I was surprised. I was keeping my eyes on Del Olmo because he was keeping pace with Yuko Leskala. Usually early on in the race, nobody can keep pace with Yuko, but Del Olmo is really proving he's got the consistency and he's now showing the speed. This man might actually really truly be on for a championship contention here against quite a stacked field with Yuko Leskala and Caroline Boafia, both of them making mistakes this season.
Yeah, and with him taking that maiden victory back at Brands Hatch, you got to think his confidence is up right now. So he's got to hold off the best as Yuko Leskala is certainly breathing down his neck at every corner. If this doesn't go anywhere, though, I definitely want to try and get a replay of Jungbluth's save coming into Jean Debienne a little bit before, because that was absolutely incredible stuff that he held onto that car. And here through Collier, still right on top of him. Doesn't seem like Leskala is going to allow Del Olmo a chance to relax.
Yeah, absolutely. This is fairly stable for the both of them. Del Olmo keeping the pressure, keeping the pace going. Yuko Leskala keeping the pressure on. Ian Haycox has clawed onto the back of Yuko Leskala as well, and Caroline Boafia is starting to cling to the back as well.
This is a great perspective of how this is starting to evolve. 4 drivers breaking away. Del Olmo leading there in the red and white. The blue and white is Leskala. The green is Haycox. And then the black car is Boafia. On a bit of a recovery drive. Remember, he qualified on pole.
We've had a problem with Victor Avila. Felix just outbraked himself going into, looks like the radio tower. So he was carrying a cone with him. Fortunately, he's shedded that now and is back on track in that Fila machine.
So another driver with some issues able to get going. Meanwhile, back to the number 21. Is this a fight with Jungbluth right here as they come into Collier once again? Yeah, that is Jungbluth that is currently leading a whole swath of cars. Jack Wells, Mosquera, Melendez, Schulte, Gabbiani. Oh my goodness, this goes all the way back to Doug Mastretta in 19th, and this is for 7th.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mastretta actually falling back now. He got a really bad exit, so he's fallen off the back of that group. But now it's Xavier Sanchez just lost second position to Farron Grau. I think they're side by side actually going on to the backstretch. Now through Sunset, Farron is going to be able to pull away. Great
moves by Farron Grau. He is looking hot today and has already made a couple moves on some pretty fast drivers.
Well, that was an interesting moment. I believe Jesus Amundere went into the pits and hit the inside wall and has turned around, so he's now officially in the pits, but had to do a little bit of an Austin Powers to get it back in. Unfortunately, he's going to be last in the GTOs as our leaders in the GTPs are catching up to traffic now.
Already. And with a lap as long as this, I didn't expect them to be gaining on them this quickly. They've got Brian Williams and Michael Haynes up first before they catch most of the others. So should be sparse at the start, but that could set the table here for what to expect for the remainder of the traffic. Meanwhile, I believe that Carradine is setting up for a pass here.
Oh, a little bit of a mischief, unfortunately, though, puts him off that pace. This group of four is absolutely streaking away from Robert Plumley behind, led by Javier Del Olmo. Yuko Escala in second, content to sit there. Ian Haycock's in a really good position. If he could just hang on to these guys. Oh, Javier takes it a little bit too deep through Sunset. Yuko Escala thinks he's got an opportunity. He might try to make a move into one.
He's got the run, and the inside is just open enough that he's going to take it. So as they fly down coming into the first corner, over under potentially as Del Olmo cuts back underneath, but no, nothing doing.
Nice try to get that back, but unfortunately that wideness from Javier Del Olmo was the seal of fate for him, losing that first position. Ian Haycock's now licking his chops. He knows he could fight with Del Olmo. Fighting with Yuko is a little bit more of a challenge, but it looks like Ian Haycock has a little bit of a struggle going on to the long straight here before our hairpin, but looks like some of the GTPs are really starting to struggle with, not with traffic necessarily, just the cars are starting to get loose on them now, Joe.
I'm not surprised. It is boiling hot there on the surface of the racetrack right now, so I would expect them to be struggling. Meanwhile, Del Olmo is back into second, struggle to keep back Yuko Lescala, at least at this point, but he's still got 3/4 of the race to go. And Sintez, Galindo, and Grau look like, about evenly matched, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Those two are fairly evenly matched, separated by 2 seconds at the lead of the GTP field as we continue to watch the lead of the GTO field. Yuko Lescala, Javier Del Olmo, Ian Haycock, and Carradine Buafia now almost 4 seconds ahead of Plumley. They're pulling a second a lap on Plumley, Joe.
Watch from on board, Yuko Lescala looking ahead. And
I love driving this car on this circuit. It's so much fun. It's a real challenge, but throwing this car all the way across the track like that, it's just a blast. And it really takes the bumps well.
Gonna come back to Carradine once again in that number 29 machine. Braking hard into Sunset Bend. Look at all four of them taking pretty much a different line through this long right-hander, and I think Buafia's got a good shot at it.
Absolutely. Buafia's got a good shot alongside Ian Haycock's now taking that inside line. Ian would have to slend it very deep around the outside. He's just going to hand it over. He's thinking to himself, yeah, there's no way I can defend against Carradine. So backs it out. He's going to try and ride Carradine's bumper back up to the guys up front. Looks like they have a problem from Amber Dawnball. Amber is spun out on the backstretch.
With a lot of damage to boot. Either made contact with someone or something. So Amber's probably going to have to come into pit lane to get that repaired.
This was almost way worse than it ended up being. Let's see this right now. Just gets onto the inside barrier, and look how far out Amber ends up spinning, and everyone dodges it. Great driving from everyone to avoid that incident.
As that happened, Sintez Galindo and Farron Grau are currently in the midst of the lapped cars now. So they've hit the thick of it. They haven't reached the leaders yet, which could have a big effect on that battle for the lead as well. And there's Amber into pit lane. What if we could check on Aitor to watch and see how he slices through these cars?
It's tough stuff right now for these drivers. Absolutely cutting through the traffic, and yeah, starting to struggle a little bit right now is Farron Grau as he's trying to get through the traffic right now.
He's now getting through the last of it before they get a big gap here between Kulchak and Andreas Schuster. That is 7th and 8th there. Kuciak, rather, there in the GTOs. So this gives some respite to our top Nissans before they have to try and tackle the rest of them up at the tippy top of the field. There you can see they're approaching now Reed Miller and co.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're catching up to that front group right now as Reed Miller down there in the 6th position as Carradine's made a pass on Javier Del Olmo.
Wow.
And this was deep into Sunset again.
He is moving fast now. And something's happened to Melendez once again at Lamal Corner. Another self-spin, it looks like, for our GTPs. So who was up in the top 10, he suddenly falls well down the order outside, I believe, of the top 20. Looks like we got a replay here.
We're going to take a look at the pass between Caradine and Javier Del Olmo. Javier way deep into Sunset. Look how much speed he's carrying through there, and the front tires just don't cooperate. They cannot take the load he's putting on them. He just absolutely understeered into the corner. That's that legendary, infamous, quite frankly, Audi understeer playing up through Sunset.
And now, though, they've got Sintez Galindo just behind them.
And sorry, Joe, we should go back to 6th position in the GTPs because it is a complete madhouse back there.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, it is. Look at this. It is rush hour traffic heading into the hairpin. Somehow they get out the other side. There's battles in the GTOs amongst them on top of it. Doug Cloud and Jamie Hamill-Smith. That's going to be Seamus Power, the first to get through. And he's followed by Thomas Torp. They've also got Fabian Jungbluth, who suffered some issues early on in this race, trying to gather himself up. He manages to get by all of them. But those behind suffering the problems that they face. Oh, contact there from Mascara and Alvarez.
Yep, Mascara and Alvarez get together, and Alvarez is just going to push Mascara off after that contact. Mascara spinning into the grass. Unfortunately, that's what I think Podman Anakin meant by aggressive negotiations.
Well, that it was almost a save, and then there was a second hit. Let's see if we can take a better look at it. It looks like Alvarez was trying to get out of it, and there you can see from on board he was completely turned around in tower corner. If we hop off, yeah, there's the first hit, and then look at it, just about saved it, but there was very little that Alvarez could do.
No, he was locked on the brakes, but the Audi has a much further braking distance than the GTO, even when it's sliding. But Mascara is... Oh, we've had another problem.
And that is... I'm trying to make out who that is on screen there. That's the 26. That's Medell. So looks like... just spun on his way into Sunset Bend. Miraculously did not wind up in the tire barrier. They head so fast in that corner. The top speeds are looking at 175 miles an hour.
A little hip check there for Caradine, I believe, as that was Arenado going through. But look at this, side by side. Yuka Leskala misshifts, and Caradine is able to take the lead away. Can Ian Haycox do anything about it? Sorry, not Ian, but Javier Del Olmo. Javier cannot. Ian Haycox has fallen back to the tune of 2 seconds. Just a couple of unfortunate incidents with GTPs has put him back off the pace. So it's now a battle for between 3 people for the lead of the race in the GTOs.
It took one corner for Caradine to go from first to fourth at the start of the race. It took only 8 laps to get back up to the lead of this class. Look at that. Just great heads up. Luck was a little bit on his side, but sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah, misshift for sure for Yuka Leskala, and that kind of inconsistency has been the thing that's been biting him this season and last season, to be quite honest, Joe. That's one of the reasons why Phil Lake could get that championship over him, is Caradine weaving to the inside to try and break the draft, I believe, from Yuka Leskala and allow Javier Del Olmo to start hounding Yuko again. He wants Javier to get in between himself and Yuko because he knows, Caradine does, that he's faster than Javier.
That's Seamus Power going clear around the outside of Sunset Bend, trying to give him as wide a berth as he can. Seamus up to 5th position as well, by the way. Gain of 2 for him, but it's Farron Grau who's gained 4. The biggest mover in the top of the field. However, the biggest mover in the GTPs is Laus Stolson, who's gone up 8 positions and made up for his poor qualifying.
Absolutely, and now the GTO lead battle is going to have to contend with constant GTPs. This is the never-ending stream, the never-ending challenge of the Camel Series and multi-class in general, but especially the Camel Series, with 30 miles per hour of closing speed between the GTOs and the GTPs on average. This makes a real challenge for the GTOs to continue to have their battles while the GTPs try and cut their way through.
Still watching that 29 there, as he's going to get overtaken by Jack Wells. But man, the gap between himself and Leskala already up to 0.8 of a second. Traffic seems to have helped out Caradine tremendously here at the start. And look at the cut back there from Leskala. That's knowledge right there, knowing exactly where Gabbiani was going to place that car.
That's not a move I would make, but I'm no Yuko Leskala. Leskala is a very knowledgeable driver. Used to be one of the most consistent drivers on the circuit, but just has fallen afoul of hard times recently. Has not been able to get back on the horse necessarily, as Laust Olsen streaks his way around the outside of the one.
Absolutely.
One thing that's surprising me, Joe, is just looking at Kiradine Boafia's number 29. I thought he was higher than that just a couple of races ago.
I thought so too. I don't. Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe he's just been doing mostly league racing, and we weren't catching that he wasn't rated that highly. Whatever the case, it does not match his pace. And man, Leskala is getting the raw end of the stick.
This is terrifying to watch, to be honest with you. Watching Del Olmo and Leskala try and survive this chaos of GTPs. We've had Victor Avila Felix spin around again in the back of the GTP field as well. So quite a few drivers coming afoul of problems at this point.
Yeah, and this is really where most of the drivers are right now. So they've all kind of combined here in the first time through and causes issues. The 38 of Felix with another issue.
Third self-spin going on to the back straight, so this is a GTP warning for a horrible corner for them this race for sure.
Getting off the racing line, he's well off the pace here, so he doesn't want to cause problems for those behind. Meanwhile, checking in on Reed Miller. Haven't really watched him in a bit. He's trying to chase down Robert Plumley. This is for 5th in class, and remember, Reed Miller is surprisingly far down in the points right now. In fact, he lost 5 positions because of last week.
Yeah, absolutely. So quite a few drivers really falling afoul of the trouble last week. Now, granted, they do have 2 drop weeks in this season, I believe. So there's going to be a little bit of a regaining of those points if you have a bad week, but you can't have more than 1 realistically in the season if you want to challenge for the championship. Reed Miller, though, holding up. That was Martin Reisman quite a bit there as he was just racing his own racing line, and Martin couldn't read it, so instead of trying to make a risky move, just backed off.
Yeah, I think that's the smart way to go, especially considering how things have been already here today. Got a bit of a battle brewing for 6 in the GTPs. Fabian Newbooth and Thomas Torp. I was praising Fabian's qualifying pace, and unfortunately his race pace has not been able to quite match it. He's down 1 from where he began this thing. And though Thomas Torp behind him has lost 3 spots, and Torp just had a big slide as we continue to watch Reed Miller here on your screen. Just behind Plumley, about 9/10 of a second between them. This is the first battle outside of those top 4 that have been so close together for much of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. So Reed definitely trying to gain that position back on Plumley. Plumley has just not been able to catch up to the back of Ian Haycox. Ian Haycox at this point about 3 seconds separated on either side from the lead pack and not. And here's the battle for 10th position between Antonio Alvarez and Jamie Hamill-Smith. Jamie Hamill-Smith with some major left side damage that he collected off of the side of Andreas Schuster early on in the race, coming down the straightaway. And so he's trying to continue to drive that thing, probably with a fairly inactive front left suspension and front left 4-wheel drive on that machine.
Yeah, this finish position, 10th place, that's going to lose him, I think, more than 10 points. Yeah, definitely more than 10 points to Jamie, or to Javier Del Olmo, who is currently up in 3rd, who's going to score 20 right now. So he's got to get on his horse and really start to make some inroads if that car has any pace left in it right now. He's been trying his hardest on Alvarez, but just can't seem to get beside him quite yet. He's got to worry about Hideki Koivisto, who's actually not too far behind as well in that green machine.
Yeah, basically the story is when you get this kind of damage on the Audi, the front left drive, because these are 4-wheel drive machines, the front left wheel is not driving anymore. So what ends up happening is that under braking, it tends to drag a little bit, and under acceleration, when you're turning right, you'll get even more understeer because that front left wheel is not providing any sort of power. So that ends up, you have to modify how you drive to make that work. And you often have to adjust your brake bias to make that work as well. But as you can see, he's turning right here, and the thing just does not want to go. So that's the struggle he's dealing with.
We had a big accident for Andrew Medell, and I think he's out of this race. Just a monstrous hit coming out of Sunset Bend. Not sure if we can get a replay on that one, but it happened just within this last lap, and he's already taken it into his pit stall. So I think that's one that he can call over, unfortunately. Through the scene of that accident, this is Sunset Bend that we're watching for Hamill Smith, looking up ahead at Alvarez, who's now starting to stretch away by about 1.1 seconds. So that's going to demoralize the 22 most likely for now.
You want to know what's stretching away is Kieran Boaffi at 3 seconds over Yuka Leskola. As you said, Yuka Leskola getting the raw end of the stick when it comes to the traffic for sure. As we continue to watch this battle for the 5th position between Plumlee and Reed Miller. Aitor Sentes Galindo, 2.5 seconds ahead of Farron Grau at the moment, and Caroline Boaffi just about 3 seconds ahead of Yuka Leskola.
Sorry, Grau just spun. Grau just spun out of turn 3. He's going to lose second to Sanchez, and he spins it completely around. He's going to lose more positions as he tries to somehow get it turned in the right way. Eventually, he's back facing where he needs to go. He's fallen to 4th. Seamus Powers catching, but it looks like Grau finally is back on the racing surface, and this was an unforced error.
Let's take a look at this one. Riding on board right now with Farron Grau, and yeah, just takes it too deep into the corner, a little bit too hard on the brakes early on, put the brakes on while he was turning, and then spins it around again as he was trying to recover. Had he recovered on time, he probably would have retained 3rd position, but as it is, he is 20 seconds off the lead.
So not going to be a 1-2 for that team, it seems. And there you see, yeah, rear end starts to swing around. Did a good job from keeping it from getting worse.
Oh, he's still struggling, though. The rear end is absolutely on fire, and he is having a real hard time keeping that thing pointed in the right direction.
Oh, and Jack Wells also just speared off the track, just about ran across 2 other cars. Thankfully, no contact was made, at least on the second part of it. Unfortunately, it looks like it was contact that initiated the accident. And that was with, looks like Gianluca Gabbiani, actually.
Yes, yeah, Gianluca Gabbiani and Jack Wells. Unfortunately, Jack just getting pushed into the dirt, having to save that. But look at this battle for 3 cars right now, trying to get their way past Alejandro Silva Caride. And that was a lot of curve from Lars Moncanut, who just went through, as they're all trying to battle with Jack Wells, who just recovered for the 14th position.
And Wells has got to have some damage. Whoop! And somebody else off track there. That was Brian Williams, who gets the car rolling once again. Yeah, look at the straight line, loss of speed. Jack Wells is a sitting duck. There goes Hop. There goes Moncanut.
Hop trying to make a move on Moncanut as well. They're going to have Michael Haynes to deal with as they get onto the front straightaway. But look at that. Moncanut just absolutely keeping the foot down as they go across. And that's Jack Wells coming to the pits. And here's Laus Olsen right now trying to close himself up to the back of Daniel Schulte and trying to get that 2nd position as Francesco Araneta has gone around from 3rd.
So
this was contact with the GTO. This was contact with Jacob Kuciak.
But I think he spun it first, and then the contact happened, and then Jacob actually himself had a bit of a spin. Here's the replay. Once again, man, it seems like these cars are loose on corner entry.
I mean, they're trying to, because it's so hot, Joe, they have to put the brake bias so far to the rear. That's making them very, very loose on corner entry when they go to hit the brakes. They also have a ton of downforce on the front of the car. They have the strakes pointed all the way down, so when they do that weight shift, the front seals to the track, it lifts the rear up, and that can make you rotate as well.
All kinds of difficulties emerging from this interesting combination that we have here today. Laus Olsen, after his bad qualifying, we're hearing something may have happened to him on pit entry. Is this the replay we're looking at here? This is something else. Oh, excuse me, we're back live, rather.
So Laus trying to close himself back up to Schulte right now, trying to get that 10th position back, as Laus Olsen, as you said, up 8 positions since the start, but he's been in this position for most of the race. As Schulte gets cut off, this should be an opportunity for Laus to go around the outside. Can he maintain the speed and take the position away and win?
He's not fully alongside him yet. He's going to try to as they send it into turn one. Very fast left-hander, and he's got it. Schulte doesn't fight that one too hard. Loust into the top 10.
That kind of move has got to feel fantastic. In a high-speed car with high downforce, just trusting the downforce, slinging it in there, hoping that over the bumpy concrete slab surface that the car will stick. Oh man, there's no better feeling, honestly.
Down to the final quarter of this race in just about a minute or two. So anybody who wants to make a move is going to have to make it soon. Buafia, by the way, is incredibly far clear of Leskala compared to what we see at most races. It's 4 seconds. 4.5 seconds from Pyridine for Leskala. Meanwhile, battle for third place. Grau fighting back, and with the problems that Araneta experienced, I wonder if he too is now lacking some speed on the straights.
I mean, Araneta absolutely clobbered those curbs in the wreck that he had, and just now as well. Definitely lost some aerodynamics, not quick through the turns, it looks like, which is not what I would expect. Definitely quick on the straights, but not through the turns. Possibly didn't take enough downforce, Joe. That might be the issue that Araneta is dealing with, and now the tires are just screaming for mercy with 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, that could be a serious issue. So we watch them head down the pit straight. It's about 4 seconds between Xavier Sanchez and Heitor Sintes Galindo. Heitor, your leader, up in the GTPs. That hasn't really changed since the start of this race after he took the pole position. And then, of course, Buafia, who we see right here in the GTOs. In fact, our two leaders right there, the same shot as they run across each other's paths.
Absolutely, and these two drivers have raced together a lot. Not so much on broadcast races, but Pyridine has been a usual Friday visitor to the Kamel Series, and the Kamel Series tends to run three strength of field races per week. And Pyridine has been a regular in the Friday series, but has started to become a more frequent visitor here for the Saturday series as well.
Yeah, glad to see him back. He's definitely one of you here in Kamel GT. And then our current reigning champion, Heitor Sintes Galindo, looking to try and make it back-to-back. And so far, he's been on a good trajectory to at least be in the running for it. And I think he's showing today that not only that, he's also got the pace to do it, not just the consistency.
Oh, look at this. A nice battle for 9th position in the GTPs. Oh my goodness, that was as close as it gets coming around the outside there.
Whew, man, just cannot relax in this series. These guys have got to be on their toes. And yeah, there he goes on by, coming out of the mall.
Did Gabbiani have a slowdown? Is that why he's over to the right, or is he just trying to break the draft possibly for Tobias Roner, as Roner's trying to go around the outside of Sunset here?
Not seeing any corners that Gabbiani was putting the tires over, so I think he's okay. And here comes Roner around the outside, coming up into turn one. The 28 doesn't have the nose ahead yet. Now he starts to creep ahead, but falls back under braking. He's wider around the outside, longer shot, but better grip, and he's through.
Well, that was a great move there. Both of the drivers very tough on their tires, though. Look at Tobias, absolutely squirrely as he tries to make his way through the corners. That thing is loose as a goose right now, Joe.
And the driver that is hoping they keep this up is Laust Olsen. He is starting to approach from behind. There he is in the background now. The number 10 in 10th, hoping to be a little higher than that. And Diego Mastretta, he had big contact with, looks like Hideki Koivisto coming through turn 3. And that sent Mastretta into pit lane. Koivisto as well just took a tow himself. Both of them finding their day ended by what didn't look like that bad a contact.
Yeah, unfortunately, it can be enough contact to make you not race-worthy as a machine. So as we continue to watch this tight battle for the eighth position in the GTPs, as they're duking it out, Laust is there, Joe. He has arrived. Speaking of arrived, Francisco Araneta, he has not. His tires, in fact, he's having a big problem. He's pulled over all the way to the side. Doesn't look, I think it might have blown his engine.
Oh, no. And so close to the finish. Just had to make it 7 more minutes we're taking another look at it. Let's see
Money
where...
shift.
Uh,
The money shift entering the backstretch. We're going to hear it now.
Listen in.
He's getting held up here behind Yuka Luskala, and then he comes around the corner, gets held up again, misshifts, and then...
And the revs go down to 0. Wow. I said this place can gobble them up, and we're starting to really see it here at the end of the event as many of the drivers find themselves expiring. Meanwhile, as we swing through turns 3 and 4, Laust Olsen is within about 0.8 of a second of Gabbiani, but unfortunately that's Robert Plumley in front of him. That slowed himself enough that I think he's going to be under threat from Schulte. He knows it. He goes defensive. We can't see him from on board here, but he rebuffs him. He's able to stay ahead for the time being.
Schulte trying to activate the ludicrous speed that's painted on the back of his machine right now. It's Laust Olsen trying his best to try and cling to the back of Gabbiani and Roner as they're trying to get themselves going again.
Up at the front of it all, I see Sintes Galindo coming across the line now, so we're looking at about 5 laps, 4 laps rather, I think that they have left to go here. So we'll continue to watch with Olsen. He's now a full second behind Gabbiani. He was a lot closer before the traffic. They've got more coming up. This might actually hold up Roner a little bit.
Yeah. Both of them.
Meanwhile, jumping a little farther behind. This is looking at the battle heading down into Le Mans. Javier Mascara right now currently sitting in 14th, still behind Moncana. And unfortunately for Javier, he's also one of those that has lost positions here today. He's looking very fast in a straight line. Is he fast enough on corner entry? It looks like it could be a cutback though here for Lars. No, it is not there.
Yeah, good move from Javier to make that move work for sure. And Lars, unfortunately, just doesn't have the grip to fight back, unfortunately. But Laust Olsen on the back of Gianluca Gabbiani, who got held up by second place Yuka Luskala of the GTOs. They're about to approach the hairpin as Roner's increased the gap by about 1.5 seconds. Laust Olsen and Daniel Schulte are now tucked in behind behind Gabbiani.
Down through Big Bend, you can see the traffic just unending in this style of racing, always having to be weaving and dodging around people. So Mascara, seeing Lars Moncana just filling his mirrors, goes on past Ian Haycox. Oh, when did Plumley go by Haycox, though?
Unknown, but Haycox currently under heavy pressure from Reed Miller as Reed Miller and Ian Haycox actually having to back off. So unfortunately, Ian Haycox dropping from 4th to 6th on this lap alone, Joe.
And I'm looking through. The pace looks pretty close to what he was running before, so I don't think he's experiencing damage. I think this is survival. I think this is him just trying to get to the finish because of things like that.
Very, very close between himself and the GTP. He's now trying to put pressure on Reed Miller. Reed Miller's fairly unflappable, honestly. I mean, Reed, back up to 5th position? It would not surprise me to see him finish in that spot, but Ian Haycox has a good draft and a decent pace. If he wants a shot into Sunset, he could go for it.
Let's see if he does. I'm also keeping half an eye on Laust Olsen, who's been both threatening Gabbiani and Schulte, and he is going to go for it down to the inside through Sunset Bend, but the job is not done. Four-wheel drive makes it a drag race as they fly down the front stretch, and this one's hard to call. They are almost dead even.
Fantastic driving from Ian Haycox and Reed Miller. They're going to have Ernesto Melendez going around the outside. Reed breaks a little earlier. Ian's trying to hang on to it all around the outside. He's going to do his best to do so, but not quite clear yet. Reed is going to fall in behind them as they go to the braking zone. Still a little alongside, but Ian Haycox is going to get the job done, and Ernesto Melendez spins ahead of them. Ian has to keep his foot in it to stay ahead of Reed Miller. Unfortunately, they dodge him.
And there was also a spin for Gabbiani. He lost it in the hairpin. As he made big contact with both Olsen and Schulte. I wonder if Leon's going to be able to catch them because of that.
There's the spin, the hairpin. There's the contact. That is heavy contact. That's under trade damage, at least for sure, for Laust Olsen. And he's got major left side damage as well.
Oh, no.
Oh, this is going to be the best view of it here. Oh, my goodness.
Pops him into the air, and Leon is all over him now. It's down to half a second. He's got to survive 2 more minutes here, so probably 2 laps. If he hopes to try and at least finish within the top 10. Gabbiani is also trying to chase him down. We'll see whether or not Laust can do it.
Leon is not undamaged either. He has a little bit of right rear strake damage on that machine. It's not affecting him nearly as bad as Olsen, though. You can see speed difference of around 15 miles an hour, but not close enough to pass on this lap.
Oh. Wow, all this, and it comes down to final 2 minutes now with Sintez Galindo with a handy lead, and Kiradine Buafia an even better lead at 7.5 seconds. So there's your 2 leaders, and where they sit currently.
Oh my goodness, that was a big moment there.
That was Schulte. That was for position.
And Schulte's out. Schulte's blown his engine.
Oh, another money shift, unfortunately. Thankfully, just managed to get out of the way in time. This is going to be out of turn 5. Watch this.
And there she goes.
That is the worst feeling. He actually still has some revs, it looks like. But, yeah, that car is going to be toast, no doubt, at that point. So he toes in. That means that Roner is up to 7th. Olsen is now up to 8th.
Joe, Sintez Galindo has lost all the gap on Sanchez. It's down to under a second now.
Is he managing the gap here? It's the white flag.
Is he managing fuel?
That's a good question. It's not that thirsty of a track for 40 minutes, is it?
This will be interesting. It's definitely the closing lap for these guys, for sure. Sanchez has a shot here. He has to be very measured, though. He is known for getting a little bit too eager with the right foot, spinning up the rear tires. If he wants a shot at this win, he's got to be as measured but as fast as he could possibly be.
So, as they come through Collier, he's got 0.7 of a second now. Breaking down into Tower. Sanchez trying to gain on him. I'm sure seeing him in front of him like that suddenly has got to be urging him on. It's the carrot dangling on the stick, but it doesn't seem that he has the pace. Sanchez took the win last week. He wants to make it back-to-back, but Sintez Galindo, who has not won yet this season, is trying his darndest to finally put one on the board.
They're going to hit Schuster in sunset.
Oh, this could be treacherous. Does he know what's happening behind him here? He does not pull off to the side. He is going to take the normal racing line, and this is going to hold him up. Sintez Galindo trying to go the long way around, and contact, he's into the wall! Sanchez on the final lap is going to take the win!
Sintez Galindo tried to take the risky move around the outside, and Sanchez has just made contact as Galindo is able to cross the line just ahead of the passing Schuster. My goodness, that was dramatic, as Sanchez has hit the outside wall as well. And that's to finish the race.
The gap was so huge down to second that he beat Farron Grau still by 10 seconds. Even with that, let's give this one more look before we head off to Buafia, since he's got a long ways before he gets to the checkered flag. And he sees him. Surely he's got to be aware of the traffic up in front. Then he sees the taillights and decides, I've got just enough of space, figures out how to get the car through, and I'm sure absolutely shouting as he crossed the line.
We're right on board with Andreas Schuster. Schuster actually lost it a little bit going in under the bridge here, and had to correct, and that's what ended up causing the incident with Aitor. There's the correction, and Aitor gets sent off. But we have to go back live to Kiradine Boafia, who has commanded this race ever since passing Yuko Leskala, coming around Sunset Bend for the final time, trying to make sure not to make any contact with Michael Spoon, and is going to cross the line and win here at Sebring.
Wow. Beat Leskala right out on pace. As Javier Del Olmo, though, was only about 6.8 seconds behind Yuko, so he didn't give up too much on this one. And we saw he could outpace him at times, but it'll take a little bit more for Javier to take the championship home this season as things go right now. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Sebring. Round 5 of the Kamel GT Series was won by Xavier Sanchez, who only led the last lap. That's it. He made the pass in the very final corner with some traffic to help him out. Aitor Sintez Galindo, unfortunately, having to literally limp home after a big wreck on Sunset Bend, but still able to take second over Farron Grau, who rounds out the podium. Seamus Power was P4. Fabian Jungbluth managed to get his way back up into 5th, continuing to show improvement season after season. Thomas Torp was P6 today, and Tobias Rohner was 7th. Laus Stolzen, not able to get a good qualifying time in, somehow went from 18th to 8th today, as Jacob Leon was right behind him all the way at the finish in 9th place. Gianluca Gabbiani rounds out your top 10. Then it's Jaden Hopp, who finished in 11th. It's Javier Mascara, P12. And Martin Riesman in P13. He was up 13 positions himself. Lars Monacut is going to be 14th today. Michael Spohn in P15. Last one on the lead lap was Ernesto Melendez, the third, finishing 16th. Christian Arribas, 17th today, followed by Brendan Lim In P18, it was Pedro Barbosa 19th and Jack Wells having a rough one out there to wind up 20th after starting in 9th. Daniel Schulte as well lost 8 positions going from 13th to 21st. Jean Orendain was 22nd, Amber Dawnball 23rd, and Victor Felix was your first of DNFs. Everyone behind him didn't get to see the checkered flag in the GTPs. Let's go to the GTOs.
Absolutely. Caradine Boafia, after almost losing the car on the first turn of the race, get back down to 5th and then climbs his way back up to win the race over Yuko Leskala by a good 6.5 seconds. Javier Del Olmo finishing 7.5 seconds behind Yuko Leskala, finishes in 3rd place. Robert Plumley able to jump Ian Haycox in the closing stages of the race to get that 4th position. Ian Haycox falling back to 5th, with Reed Miller falling back to 6th position after Ian Haycox was able to hang on to that position. Andreas Schuster was involved in that last lap incident between the 2 GTP leaders. He finishes in 7th position, with Antonio Alvarez in 8th, and Jamie Hamill-Smith finishing down in the 9th position. Not a great race for him to write home about at all. Doug Cloud in 10th place. Then we got Herbert Prinz in 11th, Dylan Luna in 12th, Carlos Fonseca finishes in 13th, and we got Jakub Kuchenik, your first DNF, with Alejandro Silvede Carde, Michael Haynes, Hideki Koibisto, Brian Williams, Mika Tupola, Javier Delgado, Andre Schumacher, and Jesus Amundre, rounding out your GTO field for the day.
And it looks like we've got our 8th place finisher, Laust Olsen, talking to us, who we didn't get to see for much of this race, but we did get to watch for some of it. And Laust, first of all, let's start before the race. You qualified 18th. I know your first lap got deleted, but what caused it to be so slow?
Yeah, just a moment.
Obviously, some post-race stuff that I'm still dealing with here. I'm sure there was.
Sorry, I'm here now. Sorry. The qualifying. I tagged the wall at the end of the start-finish straight on the first lap, and actually got the whole side of the car damaged. So it was terrible down on speed on the flying lap I got then. So that was the cause of that. But generally, I think I lacked a little speed this week, and too much downforce, too little top speed. So it was also difficult to move up the field from the low position.
Did you trim it out any more after you had that poor qualifying, or did you stick with what you had planned?
I stick with what I've planned. I didn't dare changing setup in the middle of it all, and the race earlier this week where I ran lower downforce didn't go very well either. So I thought I'd stick with what was the fastest for me, but made it difficult in traffic, of course.
Well, speaking of difficulty in traffic, we're heading off to Silverstone, but it's going to be the legacy version on the historic layout. So it's going to be a swift one, but there's not a lot of places where you can try and get by there.
No, I'm not sure I remember how it was in traffic. We have run it before some years ago, so but actually I think Silverstone should be quite okay. Of course, if you catch an Audi in some of the fast turns, you're going to be delayed a lot, but there are some straights also where you can pass, and then you have to be good to use the extra downforce compared to the GTOs to be able to get a good run of them out of the corners.
Well, best of luck when we head off there, and commiserations that it wasn't a better qualifying, but you did a fantastic job in the race, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
That was Laust Olsen, who finished in 8th. As we head over to the GTOs, and Adam has caught up with Doug Cloud, who grabbed himself a top 10.
Yeah, Doug, up 5 positions from the start of the race. I mean, I know that you had very consistent lap times, and you were very consistent over the course of the whole race. But I mean, talk to me about this one. Sebring's a tough place to do multi-class, and you were on it.
Well, that's why I love Sebring. I've done it in ESS, whatever they call it now, in the LMP1, and it's just a blast. I love it. this car is quite the challenge compared to GTEs. And, this is the first year I've been doing this, so I've been really trying to catch up to speed. But it was chaos out there. I mean, 50 whatever cars, mischiefs everywhere, cars inside, outside. I just wish that circumstances had worked out better with Antonio, because I know what he's trying to stay away from that GTP. They're going into the hairpin, and I was on the brakes as hard as I could without locking up, and the gap closed, and that was it. So went from, I don't know what, 8th, I think we were battling there, down to whatever. And but top 10's good for me. I just have a blast in this thing. I love the Audi.
So what are the biggest lessons that you're learning now that you're driving the Audi right now?
Well, you really can't. I mean, I'm used to stomping on the brakes with the prototypes. That's a bad thing. Kills your tires earlier, and I've had to lay off. And the second thing is, never trust your transmission, but just the random mischiefs. Sometimes you do everything right and it still doesn't want to go, and that happens in the worst places for me so far. But tire conservation is definitely a huge thing in this thing, and getting great setups. I mean, thank you, Caradine, and for setups and all the help, and everybody else in the Audi group. It's been tremendous to jump over to this car. Now I know why everybody likes it.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it myself. It's my favorite thing to drive for sure. But next week we head to Silverstone, the historic layout. Now, this one is fast, sweeping, not exactly the Audi's cup of tea. What are your thoughts on into that race?
Yeah, I didn't think Brands was going to be my cup of tea in this thing either, but it turned out pretty well, surprisingly. But yeah, there's Antonio. I think the historic was a challenge for that cutover part in the GTP. It's not going to be as big of a problem, that bump, but the rest of the layout is fine. I think I'll have a good time. I hope everybody else does.
Well, Doug, congratulations on a top 10 today. And is there anyone you want to thank for your race?
Like I say, Caradine for the setups, also Javier, and everybody else that contributed any kind of help, any kind of tips on how to get this thing to work. It's been great.
It's great to see the Kamel community encouraging drivers swapping cars all over the place.
Yeah.
I look forward to talking to you again in the future, Doug.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
That was Doug Cloud, who finished 10th in the GTOs. Back to you, Joe.
And that's going to wrap us up. So before we go, we do want to give a big thank you once again to the Kamel community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also a huge thanks to the team today, Adam, Rob, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store that we've listed. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, will be at Silverstone, Saturday, July 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. And until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.